up? Don Carr here with Robert Keeley, and today we're checking out the Angry Orange. Now, what's that combination?
That's not obvious at all, is it?
Not even close. What is that?
I took an Angry War, the Civil War Big Muff, and put it with the Waza DS1.
Very nice.
Yes, Angry Orange.
Very nice.
I love this name, Angry Orange.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to fit. We were trying to figure out exactly which muff we wanted to combine with the DS1 because there's an interesting similarity between big muffs and DS1 pedals. And that's in the tone stack, believe it or not.
Man, I would have never guessed.
I know. It's funny, I was telling you earlier that, I get to work with a variety of people. During the development of this, I was talking to Chris Benson about it. Mm-hmm. And when I told him I put a big muff and a DS1 together, I didn't even finish the sentence, and he turned to me and he's like, they have the same tone stack. And I was like, I know, they're voiced differently, but they are technically the same kind of tilt control, Yeah. And so that's what's so fun about putting these combinations together, because when I was trying to put this together, I wanted two really powerful sounds together, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But I was at first I was a little apprehensive because I was like, well, those are very similar in nature on the tone control side.
Right. But on the clipping side.
Yes, it's totally different.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah, and for us knucklehead guitar players that don't understand circuits, it's like this is another thing about this whole series that's fascinating to me, is that you can just imagine it in your head. You're like, oh, those two could possibly work together because of this, that, and the other. And I'm just like going, hey, that sounds really good.
Right. Sometimes you want it to be, polar opposites of each other. Like the SD1 and the Rat. You would think those are quite a bit different, or the OCD and the Blues Breaker.
Yeah, from a sonic standpoint, those are like miles apart. Which I think is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
And those two are pretty far apart too, man. Even though they're both higher gain, it's like, wow, the way you think about like how you would use them, musically, it's like, completely different context.
Exactly. If you're wanting that wall of fuzz type sound, like a Smashing Pumpkins type of thing, yes, it's definitely, a DS1's not going to get you there.
Right. No.
Right?
That's big muff only.
Yes. But it's surprising what Boss has done with the Waza sound and how they've carved out that new sound, because they're actually designed quite a bit differently than the first generations or the earlier generations.
Kidding. Yeah. No kidding. I guess I didn't really realize that, because it's like they just sound like the Waza Craft stuff to me sounds like a refined version. Which I know that was their intention. Yeah. Right. But from a design standpoint, they're different. Interesting.
On the Blues Driver stays the same. The SD1 and the DS1 are, for sure, I know that those changed quite a bit.
Wow.
I know.
Okay, all right. Inside baseball. I like it, man. I like it.
They did a great job.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Well, shall we?
All right. So
let's hear it, man.
Here's some Angry Orange.
Okay. Oh, let's start with a bypass sound here. The famous
1968 RK with a 12-inch from Supro. That's fun.
That is. That's very juicy.
It's a little less gain than some of the other big muffs the Civil War is. The Soft-Tech ones have a different sound than the other ones.
Right, yeah. And the Soft-Tech ones seem to be a little punchier and a little crunchier almost, kind of.
Yeah. It's a fun sound.
Yeah, it's a great
the
sound,
transistors that they used in there did have a big difference in the way that sounds compared to other ones, especially an op-amp muff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then here's the DS1. There's a reason why the DS1 is the one of the most popular drive pedals, distortion pedals of all time, right? It's a great classic sound.
It is, and it's to be that much gain, it's pretty even across the spectrum.
Yep.
Like when you're playing like the low notes aren't too woofy and the high notes aren't too screechy, and all that sort of stuff.
If you get the right one now, some of those mid-2000s ones can.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well.
So then we get the fun part here. Yeah. Now that the Big Muff and a DS1 share a similar topology for the tone control. In other words, they're drawn the same way. Right. But the values are different.
I was going to say, you sure don't sound
the values
the same.
are different. Yeah. So here's a typical muff sound.
Okay.
Then if we change the tone stack out,
Woo,
there's
man.
the DS1.
Yeah.
Those are fun sounds.
Yeah, those are great, man. Those are great.
Okay, notice that? There's no popping, right?
Yeah.
This thing is in buffered mode.
Oh, there you go.
The 4-in-1 series, they all ship in buffered bypass mode.
Nice.
But if you have good reason to be in to have a true bypass pedal, let's say you've already got a buffer that you really like. Let's say for whatever reason you've got a vintage pedal that wants to play with only true bypass pedals.
Yeah.
All you have to do is press and hold down for 2 seconds, and it'll flash at you twice saying, I'm now in true bypass.
Interesting.
Yep. And get that familiar?
Right, you can hear it. Yeah, right. You hear the engagement.
Exactly. So it's that simple to be either true bypass or silent buffered bypass with the new 4-in-1 series.
Nice, man. And I got to say, too, for what it's worth, I mean, you know, buffers, regardless, they have sort of a sound to them, you know, to some extent. And, man, I don't want to say I can't hear it, but I can't hear it. You know what I mean? I cannot hear your buffer. Your buffer sounds great, man.
You must not work for me because the people in my office know that this buffer sounds really darn good. I agonized over that forever. You know, you're in the midst of trying to work with some of these classic sounds like the SD from the Super Rodent or the DS from the Angry Orange. And Boss has got a world-renowned effects pedal line. Their buffers were good enough. If it was good enough for Prince, probably good enough for a lot of other people, right?
Right.
I wanted to be able to say, no, our buffers are better than, at least in some way, than Boss. So we worked very hard to make sure that the loss through these, even a series of 6, 7, 8 of these things, all in buffered mode, are going to preserve your signal and be as close to 100% originally intact as possible.
Man, and you nailed it. I mean, seriously.
We worked hard at it.
Because that's the thing. I can usually, when I plug something on it, I can hear the buffer and I either like it or I don't, right? And when you can't hear the buffer, it's like, oh my gosh.
Oh, it's
perfection.
Totally important to me.
It, man.
If you have people like Andy Timmons and anybody else out in Nashville that are very used to the way their amp and rig sounds, and then you put something in there that when it's off, they're
going like,
why don't I feel good anymore? You know?
I don't like this now. Yeah, yeah, that's great, man.
That's another thing that you can actually do to make our buffer sound even better. So all of the 4-in-1 series is designed to work from anywhere between 9 and 18 volts. If you put 18 volts to our pedals, you will enjoy the benefits of a higher headroom, and that includes, even in buffered mode, people with keyboards or active basses, 18-volt active basses. There's no danger of them clipping or creating unwanted distortions through our buffer circuitry. So yeah, if you're going to put this in a pro rig or you're going to have some high-energy instruments going into it, you can take advantage of that 18 volts design.
Wow. Yeah. Man, there's a hidden gem right there, because that's like, I mean,
it's huge.
Yeah, that is gigantic.
Not only does it make the pedal sound better, but it's just better for you.
Sure.
Even when the pedal's off, it's going to be better.
It's just better. It's just better for you.
Plus, you always have an 18-volt port open, right? That you're like, what do I do with this? Right. Well, you put it to one of your Keeley drive pedals.
There you go, man.